Harley-Davidson has just sent a tremor through its own history. With Artie Starrs now steering the company, word is spreading fast that the Milwaukee 8 engine may soon roll off into legend. Insiders whisper of a total overhaul. Lighter, cooler, faster, but loyal riders are asking the question that matters most. Has Harley traded its heritage for raw horsepower? We've seen this pattern before. A new chief, a fresh motor, familiar promises. Yet something about this moment feels different. Final, like the end of a mechanical bloodline. In these pages, we'll strip rumor from reality to see whether this new era marks Harley's long-awaited rebirth, or the instant it forgets who it's really building for. The announcement that shook the garage Harley-Davidson has always guarded its engines as family heirlooms, sacred, secret, and proudly American. This time, the secret burst into daylight. At a closed-door briefing with investors, dealers, and the press, the company's new CEO confirmed what riders had only murmured about for months. A completely redesigned power plant was officially underway. Not a tune-up, not an iteration, an overhaul from the ground up. For decades, the Milwaukee line evolved gently, never drastically. But the factory has finally broken its own rule. The revelation arrived quietly at first, tucked deep within a shareholder report, yet it raced through garages and message boards faster than any glossy press release. To riders who've lived every chapter, from the evolution to the Milwaukee 8, this news struck deeper than usual. Each generational change has divided the faithful, but this one carried the chill of finality, as though a chapter of mechanical scripture had just closed. The phrasing was deliberate. A new era of performance and efficiency. To outsiders, routine corporate talk. To those who still change their own oil, it was a thunderclap. Efficiency has never been Harley's gospel. Torque, rhythm, and endurance were the creed. Inside Milwaukee's walls, Starrs began pruning overlap and welding teams together under one uncompromising rule: the engine comes first. Harley's focus shifted from flash to function. Reliability before refinement, endurance before experimentation. It sounded almost old school, but riders called it sanity. As paper sketches hardened into steel, confidence returned, though tension lingered. Real change isn't printed in memos. It's welded into place, hammered by sweat and stubborn purpose, and every new engine begins the same way, with one designer brave enough to redraw the blueprint. New leadership. New ledger few outside the company recognized the name Artie Starrs, but within Harley's halls, his arrival marked a quiet revolution. He didn't come from luxury goods or Wall Street. His lineage runs through production lines, logistics chains, and engineering floors. Those who know him describe a steady hand, measured, methodical, allergic to noise. A man who builds frameworks before slogans. In that alone, he breaks from the showmen who once chased quarterly headlines instead of long-term loyalty. Starrs stepped into the role with a single mandate: end Harley's exhausting cycle of reinvention for reinvention's sake. The constant shifts in strategy every few years had drained both riders and dealers. His first public statement wasn't about branding or lifestyle. It was about reliability. "A motorcycle's worth," he said, "is knowing it'll start the same way 10 years from now." To traditionalists, it sounded like music. Inside Milwaukee, he audited stalled projects, merged competing teams, and tightened focus around one banner: mechanics over marketing. His mantra spread through the factory: reliability first, refinement second, innovation third. It felt almost quaint, but for riders who value machines that outlive fashion, it was common sense. You can't innovate what won't endure. Confidence returned, even as contracts shifted and loyalties stretched. Real transformation isn't inked on paper. It's forged in steel and sweat. And in the boardroom, that philosophy began shaping Harley's new future. One blueprint, one bolt at a time. If you've ever twisted a wrench on your own Harley or remember your first 1,000-mile haul, you know this. The story of progress isn't told in press releases. It's told in torque. Behind Milwaukee's factory gates, the transformation wasn't loud or cinematic. It was surgical. There were no fireworks, no grand unveilings, only spreadsheets, blueprints, and a single quiet mission: rebuild Harley from its core. The overhaul began not with slogans, but with spreadsheets. Budgets shifted, priorities flipped. Projects that had been chasing short-term trends were mothballed. Every research dollar now needed to prove endurance, not aesthetics. Supplier contracts were rewritten for the long haul. Fewer middlemen, steadier quality. The new directive was simple: one engine family, many destinies. Insiders whisper about a project nicknamed Phase Next, a modular engine platform meant to power multiple Harley lineups. Touring, cruiser, and performance alike. Instead of crafting separate power plants for every model, Harley would build a shared DNA that could evolve over time. That meant shared parts, quicker assembly, tighter supply chains. It's an idea every major automaker has embraced. But for Harley, it's almost philosophical heresy. A company once defined by individuality is now betting on unification. This isn't surrender, it's survival. In today's industry, sustainability isn't a PR buzzword. It's a manufacturing necessity. Each redesign costs millions. Each delay costs loyalty. By consolidating the family tree, Harley isn't shrinking, it's tightening its grip on quality, reducing recalls and sharpening production cycles. Inside the boardroom, marketing took a back seat to metallurgy. Funds moved from advertising to torque testing, from branding to blueprinting. It's quiet work, methodical and unglamorous, but it's what keeps a century-old badge alive when trends fade. In a marketplace obsessed with hype, Harley's new discipline feels refreshingly stubborn. Endurance, not noise, has always been its real rebellion. And for once, that philosophy is back in the driver's seat. What it means for real riders, for most bikers, these aren't abstract boardroom shifts, they're realities that hit the garage floor. A new engine doesn't just mean fresh brochures. It means new parts, new tools, new habits. The weekend mechanic who knows every bolt by heart will soon face a new learning curve. Dealership technicians will need retraining. Aftermarket suppliers will need to adapt, and thousands of home garages will make room for unfamiliar gaskets and torque specs. Change stirs more than wrenches. It stirs emotion. For many riders, the bond with a Harley isn't built on ownership, but understanding. They've learned its quirks, its heartbeat, its mood under throttle. When that rhythm changes, it feels personal, like losing an old friend to progress. There's also money on the line. Every major redesign dents trade-in values, a cycle veterans know too well, from the twin-cam transition to the birth of the Milwaukee 8. Yet this time, hope outweighs fear. Early data points to longer service intervals, cooler running temperatures, and torque that doesn't fade under load. Durability might finally match tradition. A standardized engine means predictable parts. Good. News for local shops and independent mechanics. It keeps the older machines alive. The kind that tells stories at gas stops and rallies. For riders counting both miles and dollars, stability beats horsepower bragging rights every time. This isn't Harley panicking, it's Harley refocusing. The brand isn't just rebuilding engines, it's rebuilding trust, because in the end, heritage isn't kept in chrome, it's kept in the confidence that your bike will carry you home, no matter how many miles are left. Torque. And thermal truce, the true heart of this overhaul isn't in a memo or press release, it's under the fuel tank. Harley's engineers call the new motor the most balanced power plant in company history. It's built not to impress on paper, but to endure on pavement. The old compromises, heat for heritage, comfort for torque, are gone. This motor aims to do it all, run cooler, pull harder, and still sound unmistakably Harley. Early dyno reports suggest a torque curve that feels almost alive, smooth, flat, and unrelenting. Instead of that old surge then fade pattern, the pull stays consistent, climbing steady from idle through mid-range. Riders say you feel it most on steep grades or long two-up rides, where endurance matters more than raw revs. Engineers focused relentlessly on heat management. The new oil and airflow routing keeps the rear cylinder, the old hotspot, significantly cooler. At stoplights, jeans no longer scorch. In traffic, the idle hums steady. After 6 hours on the highway, the throttle feels just as muscular as it did at mile 1. Throttle response remains classic Harley, heavy, deliberate, powerful. This isn't a quest for redline glory. It's about effortless torque, real control and confidence under load. If the old Milwaukee 8 shouted strength, this new motor whispers mastery. It doesn't roar for attention. It hums with balance, purpose, and quiet pride. But a strong heart still needs a stronger skeleton. And Harley's next revolution isn't just in the engine. It's in the frame that carries it.
You like my new...
The frame that fights back. For years, Harley's touring frames carried more than metal. They carried a reputation. At high speeds or over rough back roads, older setups were known to flex ever so slightly, forcing riders to counter-steer mid-corner. Engineers knew that if the new power plant was going to deliver what it promised, the skeleton beneath it had to evolve too. Enter the new frame design, a structure that treats the engine itself as part of the load-bearing system. In engineering circles, it's called a stressed member design. Rather than merely sitting inside the frame, the motor now shoulders some of its strength. The payoff: less total weight, greater rigidity. Riders who've tested prototypes say the difference isn't something you see, it's something you feel. The bike feels planted. In long sweeping turns or heavy crosswinds, it holds its line with a quiet confidence, transmitting far less vibration through the bars. By letting the engine share the load, Harley trimmed overall mass without sacrificing toughness. The result is smoother handling, reduced fatigue, and a chassis that works with the rider, not against them.
$50.
A lower center of gravity, refined suspension geometry, and carefully tuned ergonomics complete the package. Long hauls feel easier, corners feel sharper. For once, riders won't have to defend quirks. This transformation isn't marketing spin, it's mathematics and metallurgy working in perfect harmony. Factory precision step onto Harley's modernized production floors, and the story becomes instantly clear. The transformation didn't stop at design. It reached the heart of manufacturing itself. Inside the company's plants in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the lines look more aerospace than assembly. Computer-guided milling stations, robotic welding arms, and laser alignment tools have replaced many of the manual gauges that once defined the craft. But this isn't the death of craftsmanship. It's its evolution. Veteran machinists now work alongside automation, checking tolerances measured in microns rather than millimeters. Every engine block is scanned for imperfections before leaving the casting line. Oil passages are mapped with precision sensors to catch even the faintest obstruction. Even paint is applied under temperature-controlled conditions to ensure a perfectly consistent finish from batch to batch. These upgrades aren't vanity projects. They're survival strategies. Reliability builds loyalty, and Harley's new production philosophy is proving it. Early test runs of the new motor passed endurance trials with near-flawless consistency. No loose bolts, no odd vibrations, just disciplined, repeatable craftsmanship. The quiet heroes are the factory veterans, many second generation, who understand that precision is the new form of pride. Their satisfaction doesn't come from speed, but from consistency.
Like a Vespa.
Every shift they work preserves the soul of the brand through skill. They prove that modern engineering doesn't erase tradition, it refines it. Built for the rulebook, no motorcycle escapes regulation. Emissions limits, noise caps, and inspection standards now shape every bolt that leaves the factory. In the past, Harley fought those rules tooth and nail, patching compliance with last-minute fixes, heat shields, exhaust tweaks, and fuel maps that pushed the line. But this time, the company changed tactics. Instead of forcing performance to fit regulation, it built regulation into performance. Engineers started by studying where older designs struggled to meet new laws. From there, they re-engineered combustion itself, refining valve timing, airflow, and fuel atomization. The result? A cleaner burn, steadier torque, and lower emissions without sacrificing character. Crucially, the sound remains pure Harley, deep, rhythmic, unmistakable. Noise regulations usually kill personality, but this tone walks the line perfectly. Bold, legal, alive. It's rebellion refined, not erased, and the benefits go beyond sound. By designing compliance from the ground up, Harley protects resale values and makes cross-state riding simpler. No more worries about inspection failures or emission red tape. Now, meeting the rules isn't submission, it's armor. This engine doesn't just run cleaner, it stands prouder. Harley has proven that survival and soul can coexist, and that progress doesn't have to come at the cost of identity. Old hands speak up when whispers of Harley's new engine reach the back roads. The response wasn't quiet. It was a rumble of mixed emotions. The veterans, the ones who've been around since the Shovelhead and Evolution days, didn't rush to celebrate. They leaned back, listened, and waited. For them, change has never just been about mechanics. It's about identity. They've seen revolutions come and go, each one promising progress without betrayal. Some delivered, some didn't. At a small diner off Route 66, one gray-bearded rider summed up the mood perfectly. If it don't shake, it ain't Harley. He wasn't being stubborn. He was guarding a lifetime of memories tied to that heartbeat between his legs. Still, even he admitted curiosity. If they can make it run cooler and pull harder without killing that heartbeat, I'll give it a look. That single sentence captures the entire Harley community's split, half skepticism, half hope. Riders want progress, but they don't want to lose the vibration that made their bikes feel alive. Younger riders, raised on smoother Milwaukee 8s, welcome the comfort, the reliability, the ease of maintenance. Older ones measure time in miles, not metrics, and yet, for the first time in decades, both sides seem cautiously aligned. In garages filled with the scent of oil and the hum of old radios, conversations have shifted. It's no longer complaints about what's gone wrong. It's quiet curiosity that Harley might finally be bridging the gap between old pride and new precision. Dealers in the crossfire. One feels corporate change faster than the people who sell the machines. Dealers have always stood between loyalty and the ledger, and the arrival of a new engine family puts them right back in the crosshairs. The first wave of excitement was electric, but it quickly gave way to anxiety. A fresh power plant means uncertainty.
Leather jackets,
Old
gloves.
inventory slows, buyers hesitate, mechanics need retraining, and parts pipelines shift overnight. For those running showrooms, excitement alone doesn't pay rent. Across the Midwest, dealers quietly began discounting leftover Milwaukee 8 models to make room for whatever comes next. They've lived through this before. When the twin cam replaced the Evolution, it took nearly 2 years for trust to return. Riders wanted proof, not promises. Sales teams found themselves doing more educating than selling, reminding customers that Harley doesn't abandon its legacy. Parts, warranties, and service aren't vanishing overnight. They're just evolving. For most dealerships, this painful adjustment looks more like a long-term investment. A unified engine platform will simplify training, reduce service headaches, and eventually stabilize profit margins. The short-term sting, the retraining, the slow turnover, is the cost of renewal. Inside showrooms, tension hums like an idling engine. Optimism meets hesitation. Everyone's waiting for one thing: proof that this new machine is worth rewriting history for. The soul debate. The debate that now echoes from Daytona to Sturgis, from internet forums to roadside bars, is as old as Harley itself. What truly defines a Harley-Davidson? Is it the sound, the stance, or the story behind it? One side argues that evolution is survival, that without modernization, the brand will fade into nostalgia. The other insists that every step toward refinement smooths away the imperfections that made Harley real. Both are right, and both are wrong. For purists, a Harley should still vibrate like a heartbeat, slow and syncopated. That rhythm isn't noise, it's soul. To them, a smoother ride feels sterile, like a heartbeat gone flat. But those who've clocked long rides through burning summers see it differently. They argue that comfort doesn't kill character, it preserves it. A bike that runs cooler, lasts longer, and leaks less isn't losing authenticity, it's gaining endurance. Harley's identity now rides between these two worlds, heritage and progress. Every upgrade risks angering one camp, but standing still risks extinction. The truth lies somewhere between nostalgia and evolution. That honors it. A smoother Harley doesn't erase the past, it extends it. When an old rider hands the keys to a new one and says, "Keep it upright," that moment is legacy, sound, steel, and brotherhood passed between generations. Because in the end, the debate isn't about vibration or valves, it's about belonging. And belonging has always been Harley's loudest engine note. Dollars and miles. For most riders, loyalty is measured not in slogans but in costs, the price of ownership, the hours of maintenance, the trust between man and machine. And when Harley changes its core, every rider does the math. A new engine means new tools, new diagnostics, and, inevitably, a higher sticker price. But beneath that initial shock lies the long game. Lower long-term costs, longer service intervals, and less wear from heat and stress. When a motor runs cooler and cleaner, it runs longer. Early dealer estimates suggest modest fuel efficiency gains, but the real savings will come in reliability. Less heat means less fatigue on metal, and fewer parts that fail halfway through a cross-country trip. For riders who live by the 1,000-mile calendar, that's worth more than any marketing promise. Maintenance, too, has been rethought. Many garage-built mechanics feared Harley's redesign would lock them out. Proprietary sensors, closed ECUs, impossible access. But internal documents hint otherwise. Oil changes, filters, plugs, belts, all remain accessible. Precision has tightened, but independence has not been erased. For the home mechanic, it's not exclusion, it's evolution. Resale value is the quiet reward. If this new engine proves its durability, the used market will reflect it. Trust travels fast in the biker world, and a reliable Harley keeps its worth both in dollars and in pride. Still, riding isn't an investment portfolio. It's the way a bike fires up after a long winter, the sound that fills a silent street at dawn, the hum that reminds you you're still alive. So yes, the new Harley may cost more, but if it rebuilds faith between the factory and the faithful, then every penny spent is paid back in miles. Rivals on edge in the global motorcycle arena, Harley's every move sends ripples. And this time, the waves have reached distant shores. The industry's old rivals, BMW, Honda, and Indian, have taken notice. For years, BMW's precision engineering has ruled the touring segment. Their machines were efficient, clinical, consistent, everything Harley was not. But now, with this new power plant, Harley is closing the gap not through imitation, but through reinvention. Early reports from European dealers describe private meetings and nervous chatter. One Munich executive was overheard saying, "If Milwaukee gets this right, the narrative changes." Dyno numbers suggest that for the first time in decades, Harley's torquey curve sits shoulder to shoulder with Germany's best, but with something Munich can't manufacture: emotion. In Japan, Honda's engineers, the custodians of reliability, have taken a quieter stance. They see Harley's rise not as competition, but as challenge. If they can modernize without losing history, one engineer admitted, then no one has an excuse to stay comfortable. For Indian motorcycles, the rivalry is personal. Their entire identity, the classic made modern, is now being tested by Harley's real, measurable modernization. If Harley pulls this off, Indian's narrative might no longer sound unique. It might sound borrowed. Across design studios and test tracks around the world, Harley's new heartbeat echoes like a reminder. Heritage isn't a limitation. It's leverage. Hands behind the steel at the end of the day, motorcycles aren't built by boardrooms. They're built by hands. Hands scarred from metal shavings. Hands that know the difference between torque and tension by feel alone. And in Harley's factories across Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Missouri, those hands are writing the company's next chapter. Each shift begins the same way. The hum of machines, the scent of hot oil, the quiet pride of workers who know they're not just assembling transportation, they're preserving an American language written in steel. Since Artie Starrs took the helm, morale on the factory floor has shifted. Modern tools and automation didn't replace craftsmanship, they empowered it. Training programs expanded, apprentices were hired, and second-generation machinists finally felt seen again. Union leaders describe a new tone of respect, one where feedback travels both ways, where engineers and line workers collaborate, not clash. Every improvement in precision began with the people who understood the imperfections best. For these, men and women, this isn't just a job, it's legacy maintenance. They're not employees. They're custodians of a sound that has echoed for more than a century, as one assembly tech put it, wiping his hands on a rag after a test run. We're not building a bike. We're holding a promise. When the first new engine rolls out of Milwaukee, it won't just carry horsepower, it'll carry fingerprints, pride, and proof that tradition isn't a thing of the past. It's something reborn every time steel meets flame. The policy horizon, every decade brings a new set of rules that try to reshape what freedom looks like on two wheels. And lately, that battlefield isn't the open highway. It's the policy desks of Washington and Brussels. Emission caps, sound limits, and trade tariffs now steer engineering as much as creativity does. For a company built on rebellion, these restrictions could have felt like a choke chain. But Harley's new leadership has chosen a different kind of defiance. Quiet resilience disguised as compliance. Instead of lobbying for loopholes or begging for extensions, Harley designed ahead of the rulebook. The new engine already meets, and in some areas exceeds, the most demanding upcoming regulations. That foresight buys Harley time, stability, and confidence, while competitors scramble to retrofit. This isn't surrender, it's strategy. By building sustainability into its design, Harley isn't reacting to lawmakers, it's outpacing them. The brand that once symbolized defiance is now teaching the industry that rebellion doesn't always have to be loud. Sometimes, it's silent. The quiet confidence of a company that knows it will pass every test without flinching. Tariffs and trade wars remain another storm on the horizon. Export duties have squeezed margins, but Harley is rebuilding its supply chain to weather the pressure. New contracts in Europe and Asia aim to secure fairer terms for American-made steel, keeping the bikes affordable, abroad and jobs secure at home. Back in the States, fuel efficiency mandates and safety protocols add layers of complexity. But thanks to modular engineering, Harley can tweak specs without redesigning from scratch. Adaptability is the new armor. In a world where every law feels like a leash, Harley's latest era isn't about breaking chains, it's about mastering the ride within them, because freedom, they've realized, doesn't vanish under regulation. It simply evolves. The road ahead, the roar that first thundered out of Milwaukee more than a century ago has never really faded. It's only changed tempo with time. Every generation has called their Harley the real one, and every generation before them has disagreed. But the truth is simpler. The spirit never left. It just kept adapting. What riders are witnessing today isn't the end of an era. It's proof that the old one still breathes, only stronger. This new engine isn't just another upgrade. It's a promise fulfilled. It says to every skeptic, every purist, every lifelong believer, Harley still builds for you. All the refinements, the discipline, the quiet engineering, they lead back to one idea. The motorcycle should still answer to the throttle, not the quarterly report. The years ahead will test that promise. Markets will shift. Trends will tempt. Younger riders will chase new thrills while older ones measure the road left to ride. But those who know Harley's story understand that this moment feels different, earned, not forced. This isn't reinvention for reinvention's sake. It's remembrance of the grit, the oil, the heartbeat that built the name in the first place. And somewhere in a garage, when a rider hits the starter and the air fills with that deep, familiar growl, no one will be counting RPMs. They'll just smile, because they'll know. The soul never left Milwaukee. They said the engine era was over, but the sound rolling out of Wisconsin says otherwise. So here we are. Harley's made its move, a bold gamble, maybe even a final stand. But whether it's brilliance or blindness, time and the road will decide. Out here, we don't chase hype, we ride truth, torque, and trust. So tell me, is this the rebirth Harley needed or the moment it forgot itself? Drop your thoughts below. Every real rider's voice matters, and if you ride for the sound, not the stock price, hit that like, share it with a brother on two wheels, and remember, the legend still rumbles.